Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and yes, we are continuing our series where we're looking at what models are available to buy right now for Warhammer The Old World. For those that aren't interested in Bretonnians and Tomb Kings, we've covered a lot of factions so far. We got 3 left to go, and this one is the Vampire Count. So yes, this is another faction which is in the Legacy area. However, of all the factions currently available, this is, with probably the exception of Tomb Kings and Bretonnia, but is one of, if not the best served faction right now for Warhammer The Old World, predominantly because the amount of miniatures that are available under Age of Sigmar. And as you go through the list, you'll see that Vampire Counts are in a pretty damn good place if you were to start an army right now today. So let's go and check it out. So first up, we're using the Warhammer 8th edition army book when we're looking at the units, and that's because I don't have any of the Warhammer The Old World books, so we're having to go with what units were in 8th edition. Not all of those units will be in, I'm sure, but I expect most of them to be there. So first one then, from a Lord, Vampire Lord. I have to say, I remember Vampire Counts was one of my armies that I played for a very, very long time, and they've always had this issue where the characters haven't had a lot of variety. Like, you know, if you look at back in the day, yeah, you had all the special characters, but then there was like one Vampire Lord. Even before the plastic zombie dragon came out, you had this guy who was a winged Vampire Lord, and you know, not too many others that were available. If you look at where we are today, there's a huge number of Vampire Lord choices come with Age of Sigmar. A lot of special characters which you just use as an ordinary Vampire Lord. So starting from the top, we've got Ivy Volga if you want something a bit more feral, but clearly vampiric, and with the bats would make a good Vampire Lord or even just a plain vampire. The same with Kado Ezekiar. Again here, a Vampire Lord or even a Vampire Hero. Lady Annika, though, just be aware of how she will fit on a base and rank up because of the long cloak here. Maybe you can do something with that. You've got Kritza, the Rat Prince, if you want to go, again, this sort of more rat-styled Vampire Lord. You've got just a Vampire Lord, this one here, with the bats in the hair and everything. Not to everybody's taste. I actually don't mind this miniature. Some people I know don't like it, but again, not bad. You have the option of taking a Vampire Lord on the Coven Throne. Coven Throne likely to be in the Legacy Army list, I would expect. It's a very iconic unit these days. You've got the option of the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon with 2 different heads, either the Prince Vordry one or the basic one that you see here, which is very Blood Dragon-esque. You could use Neferata or Manfred the Mortarchs as a Vampire Lord on an Abyssal. Again, you'd have to check the base sizes. We'll have to see if Abyssals are mount options. But if Abyssals are in, then absolutely there's no reason why you couldn't use these as just Vampire Lords. And the best one on here is these 4 at the end. This is the Crimson Court. It is a warband thing for Warhammer Underworlds. I love this pack. It is the cheapest way of getting 4 Vampire Lords. So you can have Vampire and Vampire Lords. You've kind of, whatever sort of flavour, you've kind of got a Manfred, you've got a Von Carstein, you've got a Lamian style here. You've even got a sort of, I don't know whether you would call him either Necrarch or Strigoi-esque, but you certainly got variety. You could even use that sort of Blood Dragon, whatever sort of flavour you want. This is a really nice pack if you want some Vampire Lords. I think the miniatures themselves actually look great. I think they've done a really good job with these. And as I say, you know, one pack actually, it's actually quite good value. Yes, you're going to get a bunch of cards and stuff you don't really need. But these guys are a really good way of getting some Vampire Lords. So Vampire Count got a huge selection of Lords out there with lots of differing styles to suit whatever sort of flavour of army that you're going for, and with a pretty damn good choice of mounts as well. Master Necromancer. So Necromancers is the one thing that they are lacking in terms of variety. You've pretty much just got this guy. This guy on foot, he's been out a while. He's one of the sort of the early sort of 3D plastic style miniatures that we saw coming in the back end of Warhammer Fantasy into Age of Sigmar. But here you go, you have a plastic Necromancer on foot. The one thing lacking is mount options for Necromancers. However, most of the time, to be honest, I'm thinking I'm going to be putting casters in units rather than on mounts. Next up is the Strigoi Ghoul King. Now, in the past, we only had this chap who was mounted on a Terrorgeist, and you had to do a little bit of converting to get him on foot and then have a Terrorgeist on his own if you wanted a Ghoul King on foot. However, these days, you have this one here. So, AOS listing, you've got the Aberrant Ghoul King on Royal Terrorgeist, as he's called now, and then you have the Aberrant Archregent. Again, he makes a pretty good Ghoul King if you want one on foot. So if that's your type of flavour and you want a Strigoi, it's not me. I'm a traditional sort of vampire count player in terms of I like my vampires very much like the old real world lore of vampires. So von Carstein's, Lamians, that sort of thing are definitely down my street. Even Necrarchs with that sort of flavour. But Strigoi, not so much, but the options are there. Again, if you just want a plain Necromancer, again, this guy could be used, but you would have to, I'd suggest you paint him in a slightly different colour so that you can at least tell your opponent which one is the Lord and which one is the plain Necromancer. And then the same goes for your plain vampires, all the same options. Obviously, the more opulent looking your Lord, your character, your miniature, the more likely he is to be a Lord. So you can certainly consider that when you're doing just either a plain vampire or a vampire lord. Again, if you were to use the same miniatures, different colours. But again, the Crimson Court making a pretty good option here, mainly because you've got 4 in here and they're quite distinct. So you could be quite clear which one's a lord and which one's a normal vampire going down that route. So again, plenty of options. Vampire count well served for characters. White King wise, again, well served on this. You've got the White King on foot. Again, this is actually a relatively old 3D plastic miniature, but really nice looking, absolutely classic, iconic, but I love it. I think he's a great looking miniature and still is today. As is the new White King. You have a White King now mounted on horse. Again, you need to check the base size. I think it's quite a large mount if I remember correctly, but again, really cool looking miniature. White King, well served, and I always like to have at least one White King in my army, whether on foot in a unit of Graveguard or even on mount if taking a unit of Black Knights. So again, 2 really good looking miniatures with one with a mount option available. So very nice. And then Vampire Count Heroes, you've got the Cairn Wraith. Yep, Cairn Wraith is available here. So yep, traditional Cairn Wraith, currently found in the Nighthaunt category, but listed as a Cairn Wraith and another option for hero. As is the Tomb Banshee, again, a pretty old, you can still see still on a square base, but these are all available in the Age of Sigmar section for death, so you can find all those there. And so that is pretty much all the Vampire Count heroes. They're all there, and in many cases there are more than one option and mount options to boot. Core wise, you've got zombies. These are the new zombies known as Deadwalker zombies. I know for a lot of people these are hit and miss. I mean, there's lots of zombies out there in the miniature market, so third-party options are available. But if you're going for official ones, one of the things I know a lot of people don't like is these little sticky out bits everywhere, which is branches or roots, whatever it's supposed to be. Do you know what? You can just take your clippers and you can snip pretty much a lot of these off. And surprisingly, the zombies actually, in my personal opinion, it is personal opinion, look a bit better. You'd snip all these roots off and they then just look like ordinary zombies that don't have trees going through them. So yeah, that's absolutely an option. And then I think and also considering that would also help them rank up maybe a little bit better in some cases, some of them quite wide, and if you don't like these like tombstones on the back of them and stuff, you can snip those off pretty easy as well. So if these are a bit too out there in design, you can tidy them up and they make actually pretty decent zombies. So yeah, those are available. Skeleton Warriors, again, had a refresh. I actually like the new Skeleton Warriors. I know some people don't like them. Obviously, they're quite heavily armoured for Skeleton Warriors, which can make them a bit crossovery with Graveguard. The Graveguard helmets and shields do make them stand out a bit when you look at them, the older style Graveguard. But overall, I like these. Again, dynamism, ranking up, could be something of an issue with these, and you'd have to sort of plan that a bit carefully. But they're definitely available to buy now, a decent number of skeletons, and coming in a sizable number of models in the box. Listed as death rattle skeletons, that's what you'd be looking for. Crypt ghouls, again, also available. As you can see here, these are the classic crypt ghouls. Again, not only Strigoi not my favourite bloodline, I really don't like these miniatures, I have to say, as ghouls. I find them looking goofy, but there they are, they're available, and if this is your thing, like I say, it's all very much a personal choice in terms of if you like or don't like the look of a miniature. They're available, you can fill the slot. Direwolves. So the direwolves had a refresh. Now I really like these. I think these were a really good job. The raven on the back of here, picking at the meat. But yeah, overall, I really like these new direwolves. I think they look great. And again, filling in that core slot. So pretty much nearly all the vampire counts core there, absolutely covered, and covered with new miniatures. If this is a sign of the Skaven release where you're getting the same things, just redone in a really cool and nice looking way, could be quite good. But certainly the vampire counts with their refresh in a good space. Corpse cart still available, classic corpse cart with the options Balefire Brazier and the bell or whatever it is. So yep, still available there. Moving on to the special, there's the Graveguard. As I said, yes, the new skeleton, death rattle skeletons, they do look heavily armoured, maybe a little bit out of size scale. I actually don't own any of the new skeleton warriors. So I don't know how they look next to the Graveguard. I've got plenty of the old models, so I don't know in terms of scale-wise how those new ones look. That could be an issue if that bothers you. But certainly the helmets, the shields, definitely mark out the Graveguard as being Graveguard. But yeah, still available. Black Knights also available. This is a dual kit with the Hex Race and would go still quite nicely. And I think they aesthetically they fit quite nicely with the Mounted White King as well. So Black Knights available to buy, which giving you a nice cavalry option. Crypt Horrors as well available if you want some monstrous infantry. This is a dual kit with the Vargeist as well. Personally, I prefer using the Vargeist. I do like the flying melee infantry, but if you do want something monstrous infantry, and again you're going down that Strigoi theme, these guys definitely fit the bill. Fellbats, these are the new Fellbats, look really good. If you look at the old Fellbat model, you'll see why. But the new ones, again, look really cool. If you want some Fellbats are available and, say, looking really good. The Bat Swarms, yeah, bit older looking, as you can see, compared to those Fellbats, but there are options available. This is the option available for Bat Swarms. Excuse me. Hoping eventually that we may see some maybe an improved Bat Swarm model. Looking at the Tomb Swarm that was done for the Tomb Kings, actually, I really like that. Yes, I know it's Forge World resin, but I really like the way it was done. Looked great and yeah, and dynamic. And I hope we see something with the bats. But this, there's something to buy. It's usable, and you can fill that unit slot. Spirit Hosts, yes, where we started to get all these new spirit styles. They came with Nagash, they came with things like the Coven Throne and the Mortis engine. This was that sort of plastic style of doing ghostly characters that then ended up being very Nighthaunt. They're all available, and they actually look pretty good as Spirit Hosts. I like the way they're coming out, the skeletons and stuff like that, and I do own these already. Pretty nice looking miniatures, and actually fairly easy and quick to paint to boot. Hex Race, that's the dual kit with the Black Knights. You can see the elements there, slight change though, obviously in the weapons and the bodies. But yeah, Hex Race giving you something different in terms of cavalry. We'll see how their rules look. But yeah, Hex Race definitely available there as well. So you've got multiple cavalry options. We've got multiple sort of monstrous creature style options as well, monstrous infantry. I mean, there's pretty much everything you want to make a flexible force or go down a particular pathway. Vargeist, these are my personal favourites for monstrous infantry, monstrous flying, melee infantry. Yeah, these guys are pretty nice, and I say a shared kit with the Crypt Horrors. Vargulf as well, this is a really old model. I'm not a fan of this model at all. I really think it does need a refresh, but it is there. It's available in the rare category if you want to fill that unit slot. The Blood Knights, yes. So we've gone away from that super expensive box of Blood Knights. I'm not saying these are the cheapest in the world, but they actually are cheaper than the original ones that we have, just that have just gone away. And these look really cool. I actually do own a unit of these. I like them so much I did actually buy a unit. Really cool. They are quite big, so again, think about the base sizing and how they're ranking up. But really cool looking miniatures, and Blood Knights, you know, a nice, big, heavy, tough, elite cavalry option for the tabletop. Again, giving you the variety of how you want to build your force and what you want to do with it. Cairn Wraith. Now, we saw at the beginning you can buy Cairn Wraith heroes. Yes, you can. They come in packs of 1, and you get a Cairn Wraith hero. Now, if you were going to do a unit of Cairn Wraiths, and we don't know, again, I don't know if this is going to be in the Old World Legacy Army list or not, but there's an option here, and this is the option I would go down, which is getting a box of Grimghast Reapers. It would definitely be cheaper. They still look like Cairn Wraiths. They've got the size, they've got the same look, but they also have a slightly different look from the hero version, which means if you had them on the table, if you even put a Cairn Wraith hero in a unit of Cairn Wraiths, while I expect the rules and things to be quite similar, if they're in, then actually your hero would stand out a bit compared to the actual unit as well. So I like the idea of having the single miniature Cairn Wraith as the hero, and then getting some Grimghast Reapers as a Cairn Wraith unit, and again will probably save you a few pounds or dollars. Now, this is the one unit issue in the whole book, right? So the original Black Coach is not available to buy, and it was replaced with the Nighthaunt version you see here. Now, I like the old model. It looks very cool. It looks very Bram Stoker, Dracula style. But I actually really like the Nighthaunt model here. It actually looks really cool. You've still got the same, everything's the same. And you know, there's actually a few more horses on this one. I think there's 2 on the other one. You've got these sort of ghostly characters around it, but you've still got like the sort of the Wraith style driver, the coffin in the back, and everything else. The big difference is the size of this miniature is wildly different, right? I mean, wildly different in size. This miniature is massive compared to the original one. So how you handle that, how it would work if this legacy army was available in a non-official GWs, i.e. local game store, local club tournament style thing, I don't know. The base sizing certainly is not going to work if it indeed does have a base. They may, if they do include the Black Coach, may go for the option of not giving it a base, even though the Nighthaunt one here will have to have one, and the old one doesn't actually come with a base. So I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how it's going to handle it. I don't know how it will work. There is a Black Coach you can buy. It is wildly different in scale. I do have the old one. I really like the new one, but if you don't have the old one, maybe this is an option. This is the only unit, I think, in the entire Vampire Count roster where there could be an issue, but it's an issue of scale, not availability of miniature. Terrorgeist available on its own. Basically, you buy a Terrorgeist, you decide whether you want to put the Ghoul King on it or not. But there it is. It does fill the slot, and it is currently available. Mortis Engine. So this is the twin kit with the Coven Throne. Available here. You can see the whole, as I say, that ghostly influence I talked about earlier, the ghost going around the back. Mortis Engine was actually pretty cool, had some really unique and flavorful rules, as long as it didn't blow up in your own lines and kill a lot of your own people, but a really cool, in my mind, looking miniature, one that I like to have, either that or a Coven Throne in my army. It's a great centerpiece style model, and is available, and I do hope it is in the Legacy list as well. And there you go. Missing units, blank. There are no missing units. There's the one issue with the Black Coach, but there is a Black Coach model. So there's no missing units for the Vampire Counts roster. So the only thing that might happen is some of the units that we've just covered are not in the army list. So it's going to be even, you know, so you're still going to be able to cover everything. So of every faction that I've looked through, and we've still got 2 episodes left to do, which is the Warriors of Chaos and the Wood Elves. Of all the factions I've looked through, this is the only faction where you can make up the entire roster that is currently in the Warhammer 8th edition book, which is what I'd expect to be very, very close to what the Legacy Army list is. So Vampire Count's Legacy Army, so no new rules, no new miniatures, in a great spot right now. A lot of the miniatures that we looked at, they're all new. They're all new for Age of Sigmar. They're not going away in any time soon, as far as I could tell or certainly would expect. So Vampire Counts, if you are starting that, if you are thinking of getting into a Legacy Army, and I know a lot of people are put off by that, but if you are interested in it, they're actually in a really great position right now. And definitely, I mean, they're in the best position right now of all the Legacy armies, that I've no doubt. Warriors of Chaos pretty close behind, but certainly in my mind, they're in the best position. And that they're also probably in the best position of the core armies right now. Like I say, they're a Legacy army. You're going to have to deal with it being that as a fact, and how they might be in a year's time in terms of rules. Yeah, could be a bit of an issue. But do you know what? I don't see there being too many rapid updates in Warhammer The Old World to rules like in 40k and Age of Sigmar. That's a much more rapid turnaround. I think it'll be much more stable in Warhammer The Old World. Obviously, that counts against it. If something's broken, it doesn't get fixed in a rapid amount of time, or if something's terrible, it doesn't get fixed in a rapid amount of time. But what's the degradation in power level of the Legacy Army rules? Probably not going to be great. That's all speculation. But where we stand today, Vampire Counts, actually a really great army to get into if you want to build a complete army list right now, today. Go on there, you want to buy 2,000 point army, if you're able to, you could do that right now and have a huge choice in your model selection for this faction. I hope this video was useful for you all. If it was, give it a thumbs up. If it wasn't, give it a thumbs down, but let me know why in the comments down below you gave it a thumbs down. I can't improve unless you tell me what you didn't like. As always, if you want to see more content, hit that subscribe button. It's free for you to do, it means a lot for me, so thank you for that in advance. You've been watching The Ghost Owl. I'll see you all very soon.